Hey guys, check it out. My name is Quasey Wilson, the new host on the Blue Collar Revolution podcast. Here with you today, we're going to be bringing in Mr. Chris Fink to do a special interview. He's our first shift lead instructor at Western Welding Academy. Super stoked to be back in the podcast room with you guys. Tune in, check it out. It's going to be a real good one. All right, guys, check it out. We're here with Chris Fink. Chris, how are you today?
Oh, doing pretty good. How are you today, Quasey?
I could complain, but I don't think anybody would listen. So I'm doing pretty all right, Now, Chris, I just kind of want to get to know you a little bit. Tell me about you. Where are you from? Got family? Tell me just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, originally not from Wyoming. Moved around a lot as a kid. Born in Texas, moved to Ohio, Delaware. Spent most of my life in Michigan. But before coming here, I was down in Florida for about 11, 12 years working down there. But I am married. I got a 9-year-old, wonderful son. Love him to death. Spend every minute I can with him.
Sure. So you just moved to Wyoming. How long have you been here?
About a year and a half now.
Year and a half. What do you think of Wyoming?
Oh, I love it here. The mountains, just the open country. The people here are great.
That's good to hear. You get conflicting information on that from some people sometimes.
Yeah.
So you've been at Western Welding Academy, been an instructor, and how long have you been at Western?
Oh, actually about a year and a half. Day I arrived in Wyoming, I think I started working here like 2 days after that.
That's great. And you moved your family up here and got everybody up here?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. So how long have you been in the welding industry?
Been in the welding industry since 2007. So about 16 years.
That's great. So when you were younger and you were going through school, did you plan on being in blue-collar trades, or what drove you to want to get into the trades?
Originally, no, I didn't plan on it. Original plan was out of high school, I was going to join the Navy. But unfortunately, many broken bones, surgeries, head injuries from racing motocross my whole life kind of denied me.
Sure.
So I had to make a decision on what to do, and went for college for like a semester. Hated it. Couldn't do it.
What'd you go for?
I was actually going to industrial management.
Industrial management.
So in the trade.
Sure.
But
the clean side.
Yeah. The white collar side, yeah.
The white collar side.
But I couldn't do it. Just couldn't do schooling, sitting in a classroom, staring at the wall and all that, and just wasn't me.
So you made it a couple months?
Yeah.
Then you dropped out. Then what'd you do?
That's actually when, I kind of had to make those life decisions. What am I going to do now? And in high school, I welded all through high school, and my teacher always told me I had a skill for it, a knack. I picked it up pretty quickly. So then that's when I kind of started pursuing some other trade schools, because at the time, Western Welding Academy was non-existent.
Sure.
Tyler was still in the field himself.
Right.
So I started looking around, and I found a trade school actually down in Florida. Actually, it was Tulsa Welding School.
Nice.
At the time.
Sure.
So I went down there, did their 7-month program, and hit the field right after that.
Started cooking away. What was your first kind of big project you remember working on?
My first project, or big project?
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, first job was kind of pretty lame, I guess you could say, compared to other stuff. My first big project was about 2 years or so into my career. Got into my first nuclear power plant.
Oh, wow. A lot of stainless or what?
Stainless and carbon, but majority more stainless. Gotcha. Working on the reactor pool.
And where was that at?
That was actually in Bridgman, Michigan, DC cook plant.
What was that? What was that experience like working in a nuclear power plant?
Overwhelming. For my first time, it was overwhelming. Sure. Just how big it is, the amount of employees, contractors, everyone running around. I mean, it was a little hectic.
Sure.
So definitely it was overwhelming at first, especially because that was like my first real job. Because before that, I was building semi-trailers, MIG welding.
Sure.
Just all that kind of stuff.
Little fab stuff.
Yeah. So, I got real comfortable in that environment, went to the big leagues, if you will, and yeah, I was definitely very nervous. In the back of my mind, just, is this for me? Can I go with these guys? Because they're some of the best to be working in that type of field.
How'd you get into that job? Like, did you know somebody or?
Yes, I had some friends that also were welders. We went to all trade schools together, but they kind of got into that side of the field faster than I did. They were actually better than me. I needed more practice.
Sure.
So I got hooked up with them, working for Day & Zimmerman, which is one of the largest nuclear outfits in the world. So they got me in the door with them and everything, and really, once I got in the door, they kind of stepped away because they were already in that field, so they had their business to do where I had to go handle my own.
So how long were you on that nuclear job for?
That particular plant, we were there about 3 months.
3 months.
And then I went on to another plant after that.
In that 3 months, if you don't mind me asking, how much money do you remember making?
Back then, now remember, this was probably back in like 2009-ish. So wages were different compared to today.
Sure.
I was probably, on average, bringing home $3,000-4,000 a week.
Nice.
But that's working probably 65 hours a week,
Sure.
sometimes 70.
Pretty good money.
Yeah.
How old were you at the time?
I may have been 2021.
That's amazing. So you graduated, you went to work, you started making money. Now, in the time you've been in the welding industry, so you've done a nuclear plant job. What was your favorite? Would that line up with your favorite, or do you have other things
Actually,
that you?
there's another place I worked I went to many of their sites when I worked for Google.
Oh, talk about that.
Yeah, well, I actually worked for Stellar Energy. We did projects for them. We built their chiller units, everything. Basically, a chill water piping system. We would build them up in our facility, and then I would go with them to do installs, servicing, inspections, and all that. So I did a lot of the Google data centers that were down in Florida, Georgia, North and South Carolina, Sioux City, Iowa, stuff like that, and I bounced around. That was probably my favorite places to work.
Really? What made it your favorite?
Well, if you'd ever watched the movie, what was it called, The Internship,
Okay.
that's about Google and everything, it had Owen Wilson, I forget the other main actor. It literally is like that. It's almost like a big kids play place. I mean, they take care of all their employees,
They
their
do.
contractors, feed you breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right. Give you
everything.
housing.
They take care of
the
us.
whole thing.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
cool.
Even to go around the facility, you couldn't walk. You had to take an electric scooter, bicycle, electric bike, golf cart. Like zero effort put in. They wanted their employees always just feeling relaxed, rested,
That's
ready to
incredible.
go.
And how long did you do that for?
I was doing that for about 5 years.
Why'd you quit?
Actually, I moved on to paper mills. I wouldn't say I was bored of the job or anything. It was just I kind of wanted something new, something I hadn't experienced yet, a new side of the field, if you will. So actually, I got hooked up with a company called Rosenblad, who did paper mills, the vessels and all that, and they call them lamella packs. It's actually,
packs.
they look like a big radiator,
Okay.
but we tied into the boiler building. So all the steam would come over to our side and basically condense down back to a liquid, cycle
Head
back.
back. Remind me again, how many years were you in the field?
About 16, 17 years.
16, 17 years. And in those 16 and 17 years, how many times did you struggle at all to find work?
Actually, I shouldn't say I struggled too much, to be honest. Definitely had connections.
Helps.
Yeah, that's what really helped. Like my very first job when I did semi-trailers, close to home and everything, friend of high school, his dad owned the company. So helped me out with the job there. Like I said, when I went to work for Dane Zimmerman, I had a couple buddies that worked there. When I went into doing the chill water systems, actually one of my instructors at Tulsa, actually two of my instructors at Tulsa, ended up leaving the school to work there. I happened to just give them a call, out of the
going
blue.
on?
Yeah, and they were like, "Hey, we're down here. We're foremans. The other guy was superintendent. You still got those skills you had in school?" I believe so.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Come on over here. We'll give you a shot."
I would think, and you can agree or disagree with me, but as a student, going through school, being a hard worker, building those relationships are important because, just for you, even though those teachers left, they still knew you, and obviously you impressed them in some way. For them to be like, oh yeah, come on,
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, I think it's super important for students to realize that, hey, build those relationships, work really hard because that helps in the long run and that help you get your career started.
Oh yeah, networking in this industry is everything. It really is.
So what do you think would be like the main advice that you would give a student that's just starting out? So you were 18?
Yeah.
18 years old, so fresh into the world, and what would be something you'd want to tell a student or tell everybody like, hey, as they're getting started in their career and afraid to make the jump, like what would you tell them?
Well, definitely, when you make the jump out of, say, of a trade school into the actual field, the nerves are going to be high because you don't know what to do, all that kind of stuff. Try and push those aside the best you can, especially because you've got those nerves, and I know I did starting out. I was scared to death. I didn't know what to do. Push those all aside because really those are going to drag you down, really. You got to step up to the plate and do it. Granted, yes, some students, when they first get out there, they're nervous. They kind of shy away from everything, and you can't do that. You got to push it.
Yeah.
But also, even if you are one of the best in your class, in your trade school, whatever, and you develop that cockiness,
Yeah.
don't take that into the field.
It's only going to get you
Never.
chewed up.
Oh, because you're going to be playing with the big dogs.
Right.
You really are. I have learned the most humblest welders are the best.
Right.
Like the ones who, if I came to you, Quay, seemed like, man, your welds are so good. You're like, they're what I dream of, this and that. And you're just, I'm just a guy who's paid to weld, man.
Right.
I just do what I do.
Humbly confident.
Yeah. Those are the best ones I've ever met, but those are the ones you want to cling to, because they'll show you the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know one thing I tell kids is obviously humbly confident, right? Like you said. And then have thick skin, because getting into this industry is hard, and people are going to be rough on you, and they don't care that you're fresh and green and 18. They're going to be even harder on you.
I mean, they want to break you. They want to see what they can push you to.
Yes. So and just having that willingness and that spirit, that fighting spirit, like, listen, I'm determined to do this. People are going to say things and do things that are just cruel and rude, but not everybody's that way, right? I don't want to paint this picture, but it does happen. They're out there. And just being willing to keep fighting and keep learning and keep going.
Yeah. Actually, some of those people that tried to, I shouldn't say try to break me, but did.
Right.
Some of those guys actually became my greatest mentors.
For sure. That's one thing I noticed is, like, when my mentor growing up, my high school teacher, he was mean. He was mean to everybody, and he screamed and he yelled and he threw things, and you're like, God, this dude doesn't care. But it's actually because he cared.
Yeah.
He wanted us to do so well, and you have a bunch of 16, 17-year-olds running around with high voltage electricity and flammable gas, so you kind of got to be on edge. But what would you say your biggest challenge was starting out in the industry?
Like I said, I was one of those nervous people, scared, all that kind of stuff. Like I said, luckily I had a friend's dad who owned a company that helped me get in. But yeah, it was definitely breaking those nerves.
Sure.
Like I was scared to put myself out there, go for a certain welding job. I didn't know I had 100% the skill, but I could perform. And I always steered myself away to the kind of crappier job at first. But definitely once I got my skills up, my confidence, then I started striving for those big jobs.
For sure. And I can say that, to people that are just starting out too, to just take what you can get. Experience under the belt, that's going to open up doors and tell you if you enjoy it, or it's really going to change. My first welding job, I graduated at 17 years old, and I had to wait after I graduated to turn 18 to go to work. And I started out in the coal mines, and I tell you what, it was a lot to take in, and all this big equipment, and driving on the left side of the road, and and working with these older guys that have been doing it for 100 years, and definitely an experience. Okay, so when you look at the students that are on campus and going through the school, there's a lot of times we hear that Gen Z is lazy and they're glued to their phone and they don't want to work. What is your experience with these kids as you've worked with them in the school? What have you seen from your side?
I would agree that we have had some come through and everything. Not going to deny that one. It is a big habit breaking with them. Basically, teach them to grow up, if you will. So sometimes, we got it before we can really break into the welding side. We almost kind of have to help them turn into an adult. You're not a kid anymore. You can't be playing on your phone constantly, this and that, or the entitlement. Basically, I deserve everything.
Right.
No, you're going to earn it. Maybe it's just because I come from a different generation, if you will. I'm not that old, but I still I'm the 80s baby.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in that in-between, even though I'm considered a millennial. But the ones that we do have on there, like I said, we kind of got to break them of their habits. And once we do, and they really kind of see okay, if I stray away from my phone, my tablet, or just that cocky attitude of everything's about me, man, they turn into some jam-up welders, like I said. But unfortunately, there's some that still become great welders, but still have that mentality. I mean, at that point, the field's going to break them.
Oh, yeah. They're going to
Because they're going to hit those old-timers that,
right,
man, they just work. They know nothing else. And that's one of the things, too. We got a lot of even the ones that aren't the Gen Z entitled ones that come in, that just aren't used to that work ethic.
Right.
They're just used to waking up, brush their hair, go to school, sit at a desk, and just pray to go home.
Yeah.
So when they come here, I mean, they're getting burned, they're sweating, they're, getting beat up.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yep.
And we got to teach them that grit and all that, kind of change their mindsets on everything. But once they do, man, they're going to be a hardworking individual, great to society, everything.
1 out of 10, what's your faith in the next generation? What would you say?
I mean, I want to stay extremely positive.
Absolutely.
I really do. I'm probably kind of ranging that 6 or 7 range. I want to say 9 out of 10 or something like that, but we got to see where things go.
Yeah, and I can say being on Blue Collar Tour and going all over the country and meeting thousands of kids, and there is a lot of times when you're like worried about the future, like, oh, this next generation. But I think I'm in the same area, about a 7 or an 8, and that's a good number, I think, because meeting these kids, even though they have those traits of the phones and the iPads and the entitlement sometimes, there's a pile of savages out there, man. And I mean that in a good way. Like a bunch of kids out there that they have the energy and they have the drive. They've just been born without a phone in their hand, and they don't know how to get there, right? And that's like just kind of guiding them. Like there's like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm worried about the next generation. I'm like, dude, I met them. Yeah. And they're just as clever. They're just as, savvy, and they want it. They just need it guided. They need guided to it and motivated and shown. I think a lot with this generation coming is having technology all the time, and there's a sense of satisfaction when you do start working with your hands. It's hard at first. It's like going to the gym, but once you get into it and you're doing it, then it's like, hey, this gives me dopamine and this gives me satisfaction outside of the cell phone. And I think we'll get some breakthroughs there, and I have faith, man. I have faith that this next generation is going to be. Well,
especially when they get to a lot of the jobs, phones are not allowed.
Right. Yep.
I mean, I've worked multiple places where my phone had to stay in my truck.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
they're classified. You're in a power plant or a nuclear power plant. Yeah, you can't.
It's security reasons.
Yes.
There were times I did have phones, like when I worked at Google, I did have a phone on me, but it was an old school flip phone. Nice. No camera on it, nothing. That was the only way my bosses could reach me. Or I had a radio on me a lot of times too. But that was the only thing like Google allowed for me to have.
Riding around on your little e-scooter.
Yep. Little scooter tag once in a while.
That's awesome. Wow, what a wrap there with Mr. Chris. Glad to have him on our team here at Western Welding Academy. If you guys like what you saw, make sure you get down there, click the like button, subscribe, throw down a comment. You know that helps us out. And check it out on the next one on the Blue Collar Revolution podcast.